Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter. This is our new show for the week of, this is what, March?
I don't know. It's something.
6th, 7th, something like that.
Early
Yeah,
March,
first week of March.
2021.
We don't have a lot of news. In fact, we don't even have a top story tonight. So I didn't write the show notes, but nobody put a top story in. So
Well,
I'm going to blame Tim.
no, that was me. I put in everything below, and I thought we could just choose which one would be the top story. But I think the first one on the list there is probably, it's the one I'm most excited about.
Okay. Well, why don't we jump right into it? Why don't you bring us through that? Because this is something that I know the book, I know the people involved here, but I've never read the book. As much of a Stephen King fan as I am, I've never read the book. So why don't you bring us through what we got going on here?
A little surprised to see that. Actually go back to the show notes document here. So
for some reason, it's never been on my radar to read the book.
I think it was one of the more interesting Stephen King books. So what we're talking about, there was a Stephen King and Peter Straub collaboration back in 1984 called The Talisman. And it was a good book. It was about this kid, and I think his parents were divorced or something. His mom ends up developing cancer, and he has to travel across the country either to get to her or to get something for her. I forget the details. It's been ages since I read it. But he has this talisman that will let him cross over into this, like an alternate universe sort of thing. And it's, think more like a fantasy, low tech, like almost like a fairy tale sort of environment. When he does that, he can cross that territory a lot faster. However, it's also more dangerous. And the concept, we were talking on the review show about things like Snowpiercer, where the concept's like really good, but the execution's so good to kind of make up for it. The concept for this, I thought it was one of his best concepts. And the execution was also really, really good. Now, there was a sequel to it years and years and years later that I never read. I'd kind of given up on Stephen King by that point. But back in 1984, this was such a good story that Steven Spielberg went out and almost immediately grabbed the movie rights for it. And Steven Spielberg has been trying to bring this to the big screen for over 35 years now. And has never relinquished the rights to it. He's held on to it the whole time. He's like determined he's going to do something with it. Well, now he is getting together with the Duffer Brothers, who made Stranger Things. Interestingly enough, kind of some parallels there. Right. And they are, the three of them are going to be producing this for Netflix, and it looks like it's going to be a series. The showrunner, let me get back to the show notes here. Emmy nominee Curtis Gwynn, who also wrote Stranger Things with the Duffer Brothers and also did Narcos, The Leftovers, The Walking Dead. He's going to be a writer, and he's going to be the showrunner for the series. I'm really surprised that you hadn't read it, Lou. I thought we would have a whole discussion about how exciting this was, because this is like,
I don't know if it's just because it was a collaboration between him and Peter Straub, or that I just never got on my radar to read it. But I'll probably go back and read it now. If it's becoming to a series, I'll want to read the book before I see the stuff. But the one thing that worries me about something like this is, his books don't always translate well from page to screen, right? True. We've seen that happen a few times, more than a few times. And then when you mentioned he's been working on this for 35 years, it brings me back to my mind of the Dark Tower stuff and how horrible that was executed on video. Yeah. Something that was, again, worked on for a long time to bring to the screen. I want
to be clear, though.
I mean,
this isn't something Stephen King has spent 35 years trying to bring to the big screen. This is something Spielberg has been trying for this long. And he hasn't yet, meaning he's being protective of it.
Okay.
Which in theory...
Because, even like the Dark Tower stuff, that wasn't King trying to bring it to the screen. It was other people that kept wanting to get the rights to it and move it on and do... Because the story would be epic if it could ever be done right, but...
But I think what the appeal for the Dark Tower seemed to be was it was just different and epic and all of that. But this book, we were talking on the last episode in our review show about the importance of having heart in a story. And I'm not saying that the Dark Tower didn't, because I didn't finish the series. I got through the first 3 books and then started the 4th and said, I can't do this anymore. But this movie, like, it was really easy to connect with this kid, this main character, and this journey that he was going through. I'm not that worried about this. I was always kind of worried about the Dark Tower because it's so epic, right? There's a certain thing, like when you aim really, really, really high, you have to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't something that like it's, so the otherworldly side of things, think kind of like a Neil Gaiman sort of, and what's the guy that did like Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy and Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. Yep.
Think like not as monstrous as that, but like think that kind of fantasy. I don't mean like Tolkien, and I don't mean fairies and stuff. I mean like this kind of like a darker fairy tale sort of world that this kid has to traverse, and then hopping back into the real world. But this is set like back in the 80s. Crossing the country as like a 10 or 11-year-old kid by himself, like hitchhiking. And it was a very easy story to get connected with. And I don't think it's going to be very difficult to make well. And again, Spielberg, who isn't always very hands-on with things, and even if he's not with this, it's okay because it's the Duffer Brothers. And this is right up their alley. Again, 80s, right. Stranger Things. Alternate universe, Stranger Things. Creepy, Demogorgon, Cthulhu-ish sorts of monsters and alternate worlds. That's their thing. Like, this is the perfect, like in the same way that we were talking before about, how has nobody ever put Tim Burton together with the Addams Family before? Right. The Duffer Brothers is perfect for the Talisman. Like, this is the perfect casting for production.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to check out the Audible book. I'm looking at it right now. It's 28 hours long.
Is it?
Audiobook. Yeah. I mean, all his stuff is very verbose.
That's true, but that makes me kind of tempted to maybe pick it up again. Who's the narrator? Does it anybody recognize?
Frank Muller.
Okay.
I know I've heard his name before and something else, but I can't remember what he's done. But
I may pick it up and reread it again if I wasn't so behind on books. I'm telling you that this is this is a big deal.
Okay, cool.
And I'm confident on this one. I'm always a little, we'll see how it plays out. I'm sold on this. Yeah. I'm all in.
Okay. Well, that's good news to anticipate. On the bad news front, we had an announcement at the beginning of this month. I think it was on the 1st, actually, of the month. San Diego Comic-Con is going to be going virtual again this year. So this is the convention that's usually held in July. In fact, they're going to hold it virtually now, July 23rd through 25th.
It's not bad news for me. It means I get to attend, because otherwise I wasn't going. So, I mean, call it bad news if you want, but...
True. Same. Yeah, more of us will get to see it. You're right.
Yeah, a lot of people will be
experience happy. It. But yeah, the times of going to big cons in person are still kind of on hold.
Yeah, I miss it. Like, the experience of it is so powerful, I guess.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where, there's been a lot of talk about this kind of stuff lately of, when we're going to be able to get back to this kind of stuff, because we are, in the midst of the vaccination push. Things are starting to happen. At the same time, we're being cautioned by the CDC about, don't give up now, stay the course and do what we've been doing and so forth. And yet, meanwhile, states are opening up, willy-nilly left and right. So, I mean, we're on that verge. It feels like we're in the 4th quarter. Sorry, Eric.
Oh, that's a sports thing. I thought you meant like $1, like it adds up to $1. Yeah, go on. I got it.
but we are so close to getting out of this, and we're going to see things like Comic-Con, canceled again this year, or at least go virtual. But we are close to being back to seeing these kind of things in person. And then the question is going to be, are they going to limit people next year? Are you going to have who's going to want to go? I mean, are we going to be ready as a population to go in mass to these things? I mean, some people will definitely want to go, but will there be as much of a draw?
Right.
I think, here's my prediction. And this applies to this. It applies to planes, cruise lines, restaurants, theaters. I think that at first, everybody involved is going to try to figure out how to do it and what to do. And then very quickly, within a year, it's going to go back to something very similar to what we had before. Theaters may be a little different. I'll come back to that. But it's going to be driven by money. The more people that get into the convention, the more money they can make on the tickets, on the sales within the convention, on the food, on, it's a business. They make money the more people who show up. When they get more people wanting to show up than they can hold, the next year they don't cap it. They find a bigger venue if they can. Or if they're in a venue, they rent out more space within the venue. You grow to meet the demand because they're making bank off of the convention. The airline industry, I mean, that was hit really hard after 9/11. And it changed, but it recovered. And it's going to have to change again now, but it will recover again. I think people will be a little bit more cognizant for a while, and a little bit more careful. You're going to get a large part of the population who are going to not want to travel, not want to go to big events. But the people who were into traveling before are chomping at the bit to travel. They're going to be doing it twice as often. They're going to be, I mean, I know my cabin fever is horrible. Any opportunity, once this clears up and once it's safe, any opportunity I have to get out, I'm getting out. And I hate going and doing things by myself, but even by myself, like, I think that people are going to be a little nervous at first and a little confused at first and say, okay, how does this new world work? But I think a lot of things over a couple of years, they're going to go right back to usual. I think the one thing it's not is going to be the theater industry, because I think that the industry has figured out how to make money with same day releases in theaters and at home. And I don't think that's going to go away. I think that narrowing of the release window, which is actually another story that I didn't put in the show notes here. It's like really, really narrowing, almost going away. And I don't think that's going to change. So I think the theater industry is going to see more change than most other things will.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I think we're going to see some stuff. I mean, I personally think we're going to see masks hanging around a lot longer than we think we'd like to.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe even kind of semi-permanent. Not that it's going to be a mask mandate, but
right.
You do see in other parts of the world.
Yeah. Especially in Asia, Japan,
in large groups. Yep.
Yeah. But I think again, it's going to be such a small percentage of the population that'll do it. But yeah, I think people will definitely do it. And especially if you're going out to shopping malls or I don't know, I could see people wearing them in conventions to some extent, but also if you're going to conventions, there's, you're yelling over top of other people because you're there with a group, there's cosplay. If you're going on a cruise, to relax. You're probably not going to want to wear a mask. If you're going to a concert, nobody going to a concert is going to wear a mask once those come back, because that's just not that culture and environment. But I think that, yeah, just like day-to-day stuff, you're going to see more people do it.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, Tom Holland confirms that his contract is up for Spider-Man after No Way Home.
No, there's no way he could sign a new one either.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that's still going forward, there's no way they're not going to sign him to a new contract. So,
yeah. So we talked about this on Guardians last week, and while he made this statement, he also did say that he has told both Sony and Marvel Studios, I love this character. I love these movies. I want to do more. You put a contract in front of me and I'll sign it. So
meanwhile, his manager saying, "Oh, you never do that."
Yeah,
never,
right.
It's like going into a used car salesman and saying, "Oh, just give me a car."
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there is, anyone out there who could be accused of speaking the first thing that comes into their head, it's Tom Holland. So yeah, I mean, he is definitely very interested in continuing it. And we also talked about like this the proliferation of Spider-Man in the MCU, and I think we would like to see it. Obviously, Spider-Man is a central character in Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And, while he is not central to the storyline of every single character, he has probably had involvement with more characters than any other character in Marvel Comics has.
Yeah.
He's a very, very easy character to kind of move in and out of storylines and match up with different characters, even some really, strange oddball types of characters. So, everyone loves Tom Holland's portrayal. I don't know anyone who doesn't like him, even if they say, well, he's not my favorite. I like Tobey Maguire better, or Tobey Maguire better. All right, that's fine. But still, no one hates him.
They don't dislike Tom Holland.
I've never, ever heard of anyone say that they don't like him. So, I think he'll get signed on to more, assuming that they have more story for him. And I don't see how they couldn't possibly have more story for him.
Yeah, I feel like we're just getting going with
Here's
that character now.
devil's advocate side of that argument. Marvel has already indicated that they're interested in bringing not only the Fantastic Four in, but the mutants. And there are hundreds of, probably thousands of mutant characters, plus the other stuff that they're already slated to bring in. The Young Avengers, the Dark Avengers, Shang-Chi. Like there's all of these characters we haven't even seen before coming in. They could continue just fine without Spider-Man. Like we need Spider-Man more than the MCU needs Spider-Man.
Yeah. And there's also opportunities that, if they're going to work with Sony on this, and keeping in mind that it's Sony that owns the rights to this character. And unless Disney forks over an awful lot of cash, which I don't think Disney has right now, considering that they have lost billions of dollars in the last year alone, just off of parks. Sony's going to retain ownership of Spider-Man for a while, but certainly they're obviously in conversation. They're in negotiation. Does Kevin Feige say, all right, you know what? We're kind of cool with Peter Parker for a while. Let's bring in Miles Morales. Let's bring in another version of Spider-Man.
Other thing, yeah.
Since we're kind of mixing the pot of this multiverse thing.
There's a big push for Miles Morales.
Yeah. So let's take some opportunities there.
Yeah.
So maybe Tom Holland does end up sent packing because they're going to use a different version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Woman, or someone of that ilk. So,
yeah,
which is sad because he does so well with it. I love him in Spider-Man.
He totally does.
Sony is obviously, even if the MCU isn't going to use Spider-Man, Sony's going to continue to use a Spider-Man. But
yes.
Yeah. Which one will it be? And even if they go with Miles Morales, you have to figure they're going to come back to Peter Parker. So
right. Still the main part of Spider-Man.
Right. So if not now, Tom Holland may still have work in the future with that character if he's available. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think it's a sure thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't
hope
think it's a sure thing, but I think it's I think there's a high chance of him coming back and continuing to work in the role.
I think the Miles Morales thing is really the big question, because that's them continuing to use the character, because that's the first question, but then taking the character in a completely different direction, that I think is really the question.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, now here's a rumor I had not heard of. Henry Cavill is rumored to be starring in an upcoming project for Mass Effect.
Yes. Now you know who he is, right? I hope.
Yep.
Superman and
The
Witcher.
Oh yeah, I forgot about The Witcher. Yeah.
And apparently also a big Marvel fan. There's been some rumor about him in a Marvel casting. Have you heard anything about that, Tim?
That'd be weird.
I forget what the talk was.
I don't remember if I have or not.
Okay. It was fairly recent. It was very small thing. It was almost one of those like, yeah, I'd love to either play this character or this character. I mean, it was clear from the way he talked, like what words he was using and what he was describing, that he is like just on his own very much a fan of a lot of different franchises and stuff. But apparently he posted something to Instagram that, if you looked at all the stuff in the background, seemed to indicate that he's involved in a project for Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a trilogy of video games, much like Indiana Jones is a trilogy of movies. I'll give you a second to let that sink in. Okay.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you.
A trilogy of video games that was incredible. Kind of a first-person shooter or over-the-shoulder shooter, depending on what like camera angles you used and stuff. In a sci-fi universe, the world building was incredible. There were novels and stuff based on it. They've been trying to get movies made for this for a long time. For quite a while, back before Star Wars started up again, people were saying like, this is the new Star Wars. This is right. For a lot of kids who grew up with that was their Star Wars. I can't say enough good things about this series overall. Yeah, and they kind of messed up the ending of the third game, but that's a whole different discussion. So this is something that needs to be made into a series or movies or whatever. I hope that this is true, and I'm perfectly happy with Henry Cavill being a part of it. Have you guys played Mass Effect at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I may have a little.
They are releasing a remastered version of the trilogy with all of the DLC content in April or May, I think. So, Tim, if and when you get your PlayStation, I would pick that up. I'm going to get it the day it comes out. The game, not the PlayStation. I don't have that kind of money. But yeah, I thought of you today because I saw something came across my news feed. PS5 available at, and then like immediately as I'm reading it gets updated and refreshes and says updated, sold out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shocker.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see if this happens though. If it happens, wow. I mean, this will be, if they do it right and they get the right people writing it and producing it, this could be another big franchise.
Well, it's one of those things where there's such hype for it. God, I hope it doesn't, hope it pans out,
That's why I'm
so
really hoping to
fans
get the
that
right
are such
people.
huge fans of this that it could be just, you killed my childhood,
Right.
So,
yeah, this is one of those things that make me like the Talisman news, 100% comfortable with. The Mass Effect news, it was much like Deadpool. Like, please don't mess this up. Like, I'm scared to go to the premiere, but I'm going to be there opening night, but I'm scared. So this falls into that category.
Eric, why don't you bring us through the lightning round since you wrote most of these things, I believe.
Okay. I'll try to whip through this really quick. We've had a lot of movies that have gotten postponed. In fact, there's a whole slew of them that they've been updated so many times. We've just stopped covering them on the show because whatever we say, it's going to change. Well, we may have our first movie moving back up.
Really?
Yes. We will see how this goes. A Quiet Place 2, which, by the way, is going to be released same day in the theaters and on streaming now, along with the new Mission Impossible movie. It was most recently slated for September 17th. It's being moved to May 28th. Memorial Day weekend.
What service is getting that, do you know?
HBO Max? I don't remember, honestly.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Fair enough.
I hope it's HBO Max because then we won't have to pay extra for it.
That's right.
All right. The rest of the lightning round, The Simpsons has been renewed for seasons 33 and 34. I have no idea whether that makes
Paramount Plus
the longest running anything in the world or not. Paramount Plus for A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yes.
Good to know. Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard husband and wife team that I love both of them. By the way, Dax Shepard, the Armchair Experts podcast, incredible. You should listen to it. They are going to be hosting a game show called Family Game Fight for NBC, produced by Ellen DeGeneres. And I imagine this will be really good. The dynamic they have together is hilarious. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. The production studio from The Ghost in the Shell is developing a Terminator anime for Netflix.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
I saw that and I'm like, oh, so that's some good pedigree with a franchise that's been long neglected and not treated well, coming to a network that has been very actively supporting custom-made anime.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Seems like a good fit.
And really good with, like, Netflix has also, they have handled franchise anime very well.
They have.
You know, so, I mean, things that have been existing properties, even if it was never a movie or show or anything before that.
Yep.
They, you know, like if it was a video game, they've treated it very, very well, and they've just done terrifically with these things.
Voltron,
so
Castlevania,
I'm thrilled.
Altered Carbon, the Pacific Rim series. Yeah.
And I'm actually happy this being animation instead of live action, because I think we've kind of killed the live action Terminator stuff.
Right.
As much as I don't want to say that, we have. You know, I'm looking forward to what they can do with this now. More freedom to do maybe the stories they want to do and change it up a little bit and not have repercussion from the fans of the live action stuff.
You're not. Oh, that's another good point. I was going to say you're not dealing with actors and actresses and whether they're too old or interested in the roles. You're not dealing with high production costs.
Right.
And then, like you said, repercussions from fans. That's an even better point. That's a big deal. Snowpiercer's been confirmed for a third season. Lifetime and A&E are partnering for a 2-night, 4-hour documentary about Janet Jackson in time for the 40th anniversary of her first album. The Twilight Zone, the recent one, started by Jordan Peele, will not be getting a third season at Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus will, however, be getting the Halo series that was formerly attached to Showtime. This is another
Very
one of
excited
those
about this
video game series. World building is awesome. Various novels been trying to be made into a film for ages. I think Neil Blomkamp was attached to it at one point. Yeah.
And this is live action, right?
My understanding is that this the Showtime one was to have been live action. My understanding is this is just basically a transferring from Showtime to Paramount Plus.
Very excited about that. I love the Halo franchise. Yeah. It's probably the one thing that has had me reluctant about going PlayStation instead of Xbox is Halo.
That's fair.
So
that's fair. It's a great series. I'm more attached to Mass Effect, but I love Halo too. And it's another one where I'm a little nervous, but hopefully it goes well. Speaking of Neil Blomkamp, excuse me. He is apparently writing a sequel for District 10. Well, the sequel to District 9, presumably called District 10, unless they call it District X or
9.1.
District 9 Plus. Or, I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That's it for the lightning round.
Okay. Well, I guess that brings to the end of the episode. Eric, why don't you take us out?
All right. That's going to do it. Thank you for listening or watching us live. If you're doing that, we do that every Sunday night. We start a little bit after 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's GMT -5. And we start with our Force Chatter show covering Star Wars. Then we do 2 Random Chatter episodes. We also do Movie Chatter on Tuesday nights. Lou and I and Robin, Tim's wife. And we do that Tuesday nights starting at about 8:30. So check those out. Go to randomchatter.com/YouTube. That'll take you straight to our YouTube page. You can hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this video, hit the like button, and there's also a notification button you can hit. And that will let you know when we are streaming live or when we post new videos. So be sure to check that out. We also have a bunch of other podcasts on the network that are just audio only. You can find those in pretty much any podcast directory, or you can go straight to the website, randomchatter.com. to check those out. We also have a Discord server for the community. So randomchatter.com/Discord will get you links to that. /Patreon will give you information on how to become a member of Random Chatter. We're a nonprofit organization. So even if you donate $1 a month, that makes you a member of the network, which also opens up a bunch of extra stuff in Discord to you. If you do $5 a month or more, we have bonus content. So there's a list of perks there you can check out. And then finally, if you go to randomchatter.com/store, you can get t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts. If you're watching this right now, Tim's rocking the Random Chatter hoodie there. Last time we recorded, I think Lou had the new Force Chatter shirt on. So lots of good stuff there. So check that out as well. And that's going to do it. Thank you for hanging out with us. We will be back very soon. Until then,